January is the biggest month for divorce, but recent trends show grandma and grandpa are more likely to call it quits. The term has been called gray divorce. To have and to hold, to love and to cherish. At the altar is where couples promise forever, but it seems older couples are parting before death. It's called gray divorce.
The increasing amounts of divorce among really baby boomers and the elderly. And so we've seen divorce rates from age 55 to 64 more than double in the last 2 decades. And from age 65 plus, we've seen divorce rates triple.
Financial advisor Matt Goldbernson owns Callahan Financial Planning Group, a career he's loved for 10 years. These days, he says his clients need a little more than prepping for retirement. Why is divorce growing among older couples?
I think the trend is because people are now in a better financial situation where they think they can afford it.
Data on the CDC website shows in 2015, there were at least 2.2 million marriages in the United States. That same year, there were about 800,000 divorces and annulments. Matt says older couples considering divorce should consider these tips. First, Social Security benefits.
You need to be married by more than 10 years, and if you're a spouse that maybe stayed at home with the kids or has a limited work history, you can still claim spousal benefits based on your ex-spouse's earnings history. However, you need to wait till age 62, and you can't remarry in most circumstances.
Ever.
He
also says make sure you change your beneficiaries.
So let's say you're someone that had your ex-spouse on your retirement account and you pass and you never changed it, then that ex-spouse would get that money. And my hunch is that most people don't want that to happen. But you also should make sure you update your will and, more importantly, your power of attorney.
And don't forget, avoid tax penalties when splitting assets. Plan for gaps in health insurance and deal with debt. And for those still wondering why baby boomers are calling it quits after decades of marriage,
they also probably were raising families and trying to look out for the best interests of their kids so that they're now able to do that. Another thing I think is that it's more socially acceptable now, divorce is, and so that maybe is incenting, or I don't know if incenting is the right word, but it's allowing people to separate more on their own terms and do what's best for themselves individually longer term.
And you see, he talked about social acceptance, something that's changing. One thing he mentioned, adults are able, or young adults are able to recoup quickly financially because they're younger, they can rebound, they don't have as much invested. Sometimes they don't have houses, they don't have to worry about a mortgage and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. My parents split up later in their marriage, and it was just very different for both of them, I think, to kind of transition into that space of, it's what you built your whole life for, right?
Yeah.
And 30 years later to be like,
Now it's totally different.
Totally different, yeah. What's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. Yay.